pretty cool, huh? I used to roadie for the Stones. Can you tell? Need a baseball hat on backwards and... Wow. Okay, I'm just going to say it again. How is everybody doing? Let's keep this up. You know what's really crazy is Michael Tellinger, Jason Quitt, Billy Carson. Coming up in a little bit, we have Laura Eisenhower's going to be here. And these are all not only friends of this community and friends of mine, but they've been featured on all of the radio that I do, whether it's Coast to Coast or Fade to Black, because what they bring forward is so important. And that's the cool part. But it ain't as cool as the friggin' UFOs that have been seeing over this event today. Is that nuts? Who here, right? Okay, who has been watching these orbs? I want a show of hands. How about applause for everybody on the live stream? Right? About an hour and a half ago. Oh, I'm gonna do something really fun. I'm gonna interrupt Billy in just a second. I walk out and I see like 500 people. I'm like, what's everybody looking at? Man, there's a UFO, man. It's right there. Like, how cool. They know, right? That's it. They know what we're doing here in Los Angeles. This is DisclosureFest 2019. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, there's somebody here that she doesn't know I'm about to say this. She's standing in the back. I'm pointing at her. She's going, no, you're not doing this, Jimmy, not right now. Her name is Lisa Frith. Lisa, raise your hand and wave. Lisa, raise your hand and wave. That's Lisa Frith right there. Now, this is what's funny about Lisa. I do events all around the country. I do events all year long, and I'm not joking. Rita and I pull up in our car to the event after driving for 3.5 hours. We get off of an airplane through the airport, rent a car. We pull up to the event, and the first person we see, no matter what state or city, is that woman right there, Lisa Frith. And today is no exception. Once again, she's first. Lisa, say hi to everybody. She's just an amazing friend of ours. So for her to be here with us, I know you guys are like, what's Jimmy talking about? It's a personal thing. I'm just sharing something with you. It's amazing. Okay. Just like Jason Quitt, when this community resonates with somebody and they make the connection, it spreads. The best advertising is when one of you says, hey, this Billy Carson guy, I just heard him on Fade to Black. I heard him on Coast to Coast, and you need to check him out. That's what resonates. And then that person, and it just goes through. This man right here, Billy Carson, has over 3 million social media followers. That doesn't happen because you don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't happen if you don't have knowledge. And that doesn't happen if you don't have compassion and people can tell that you care. Okay, his recent book, The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, is a huge success. Who has read the book? Who has read the book? Yeah, about half the room. Okay, he's got it here, right? You've got the compendium here. And tonight, also, Billy asked me to write the foreword to that book, and which I did. And that's an honor. But the thing is, it's that Billy and I have a mutual respect. And his knowledge and what he is sharing, it blows my mind. Today, he's going to talk about activating your DNA. Billy Carson is going to do that and show you how to do it. Are you guys ready for this? This is no joke. 2019 DisclosureFest welcomes Mr. Billy Carson. Billy, come on up.
Jimmy Church. I wish I had a voice like that. Yeah, he's cool, man. He's got that cool voice. Let me adjust this a little bit so that I don't gotta. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. There you go. Yeah. Down just a little. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay. Can you give me the Jimmy Church sound effect? All right. Cool. Yeah, he's gonna do the voiceover for. I'm working on a movie called Chronicles of the Anunnaki. and Jimmy's going to do the voiceover for the trailer. So it's going to be a box office movie, actually. We started yesterday working on that with Dame Dash at Dame Dash Studios. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be the true history and origins of mankind on this planet, going all the way back to the Pleiadian star cluster. So we're going to start off there and move forward in time. Okay, so it's going to be chronicles because we're going to be talking about a lot of different series. I mean, you can't tell that all in one movie. It's going to be a very, very big series of movies. So I'm really, really excited about that. We're in the beginning stages of it now, and I just want to thank Damon Dash for just even seeing the vision and having the open mind to understand that this was important information, and even then taking his own time to begin to research it and realize that there's a huge story that hasn't been told yet to mankind, and we deserve to get this story out to everybody and give them the real, true history, not what's in the history books in school, but the true history of mankind. So I'm excited about that. So, thank you. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Obviously this is a great event, phenomenal event. It's a lot of people here, a lot of activities, a lot of things going on. But there's also a lot of things you could be doing on a Saturday afternoon. You don't have to be here. So I just want to thank you for coming out here, taking your time, spending your energy, and just trying to find ways to increase your consciousness and your capacity for knowledge and information and wisdom and understanding. So thanks for coming out. And it's really glad to see families out here and be able to see, if people are here with their kids and stuff. A lot of the times I go to these events and it's typically just, all adults. So sometimes it's good to just have the kids around this type of environment, even if they don't understand fully what's being said or what's going on. You'd be surprised how much information just kind of seeps into them, and over time they begin to follow this kind of path and start looking into enlightenment and spirituality as well. You don't got to beat it into them or force it on them. Just have them around it, and you be the example. And eventually, some will and some won't. But I think the majority of kids will probably try to follow the route of enlightenment and spirituality. That's just my opinion. So today we're going to talk about the power of your DNA. How to activate it. It sounds like a mystical statement. It sounds like, wow, this is going to be some miraculous event. Actually, it's really a very simple thing, but what probably is going to be more amazing to some of you may have already know this, is what DNA is and how it operates. I think that's the big secret here, because once you understand that, then you're going to open yourself up to understanding how to reprogram yourself, and that's the real activation, reprogramming yourself. I was just on a spiritual panel about an hour ago, and we were talking about ascension, consciousness ascension, and ascension of spirit, of your physical body into another realm and dimensions and everything else. And one of the things I talked about was the fact that I think a lot of people on this planet are, unfortunately, because they've been victims of the religious system, are waiting to die so that they can live. And that's a big problem that we have. You're not supposed to wait to die so that you can live. Because, first of all, the book that says that, well, it really doesn't even say that, but the people that are assuming that's what it means, those were written by people, flesh and blood people like me and you, okay? So there's really no true divine scripture that says this is what's going to happen when you die. You're going to go to this magical place. I think it's time for us to start living now. Now, I think that our duty is to help bring heaven to earth. I think that's what the mission truly is. So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about DNA. One of the things people have seen me speak before, I like to mix science, real science, in with what I talk about so that I can help it make logical sense, because I'm the type of speaker that likes to back things up with facts. Not that other people don't, but a lot of people here have some really good knowledge, and they talk about it, and they explain it in the best way they can, and some people will resonate with it, and some people won't. And I'd be sitting there looking at some of the people that are kind of like saying, oh, I don't know about that. And in my mind, I'm going, that's real science backs what this person is saying. Science is backing it up. They may not have been able to get it out that way, but there's a lot of science behind spirituality in the quantum realm. Quantum mechanics and quantum physics really have a lot to do with spirituality and how the unseen work around us in this physical realm. So one thing I want to talk about is the fact that DNA is a storage medium. In other words, it's a hard drive. You're a walking hard drive, your body. 1 gram of DNA, this is science, peer-reviewed science, by the way, guys. 1 gram of DNA, which is enough to put a little tiny drop on the tip of your finger, can store 700 terabytes of data. I'm not talking about, etherical data or mystical data. I'm talking about real zeros and ones that make your phone work and make your computer work. Zeros and one bits of data, zeros and ones, can be stored on DNA. So these scientists, the main one, George Church and Cree Shuri, those two actually together, are partners and scientists, they discovered this and they downloaded one of their books, one of their e-books onto the DNA, and then they uploaded it from the DNA back to the server again. They was like, whoa, wait a minute. You can encode digital bits of information directly onto DNA and upload it back again. What does that mean? Well, we're walking USB drives, literally. Now, here's what's really amazing about that. They then took that same ebook, downloaded it back to the DNA again, and they said, let's see how much we can go. They replicated the book 70 billion times in 1 gram of DNA. 70 billion copies of an ebook in 1 gram. It went up 433 petabytes of data. That would be enough hard drives, if we were using conventional hard drives, to fill up this whole park. Think about that. In one tiny drop, inside of your body right now, you can store 13.5 billion years of data. Ironically, that's how old the universe is. So, you are the universe. You literally have all the information stored in your body from the beginning of time until this very moment, inside of you. So when people say the universe is in you, it's not just a figure of speech. Like, the universe is really in you, because all bits of data and particles, all bits of particles are all recycled over and over. All atoms are recycled. Everything is recycled. Everything that was here from the beginning is here right now. Nothing's been added. Nothing's been removed. Due to the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. You're just here right now in this particular form at this particular moment, but all the information in your DNA will go back, if you had the capability of decoding it, will allow you to find this out. This is why, and some of you here know that I talk a lot about the Anunnaki, these Atlantean beings that came here in the distant past and genetically modified the existing hominid. They didn't create people, they modified people. This is one of the big things when people say, oh, the Anunnaki created us. Not really. If you really analyze the text, and I'm not just talking about Sumerian text, you have to go into several different versions of text, the Enumerated List and Seven Tablets of Creation, the Atra-Asis Epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh. You go into the Emerald Tablets. You discover that there was already a hominid here, and it was genetically modified. That was our cousin before Homo sapiens existed. What did they do to us to make us into this slave race to do the work for them? They disconnected our DNA. That's what you have called now junk DNA. It's not junk, guys. It's unplugged DNA. Why did they unplug it? Because our cousins, unlike you've been taught, were way smarter than us. I'm not talking technologically smarter. I'm talking about spiritually smarter. More in tune with nature, more in tune with the universe, more in tune with the planet itself, the Schumann resonant frequency of the Earth. They had bigger brains, proven because we found the skulls all over the planet. They had, probably, because of bigger brains, most likely had bigger pineal glands, which is your spiritual antenna. So all humans right now, we have billions of magnetite crystals in our brains. We don't even use them. They probably had access to their magnetite crystals, which is what turtles use to navigate the oceans to come back to where they're going to lay their eggs, and birds. They flock to the south in the winter and so forth, all using the magnetic field. Well, we have the same capability, but right now we've been disconnected from using that. If a tsunami comes inland, before it even hits, all the wild animals run to the mountains and the hills. You never see wild animals getting swept away by a tsunami. But you see people, we just stay right out there. We're taking, look, the tsunami's coming. I'm live on Instagram. I mean, it's crazy. So we've been disconnected. Our DNA has been disconnected. Our consciousness has been reduced. They've already scientifically proven and found out that a worship gene was embedded into the human genome. And they don't know who did it, but they can tell you that it was around 200,000 years ago. the same time that they discovered that chromosome number 2 in the human body was taken out, fused together, and 2 telomere caps were put on each end. Again, this is something done in a laboratory, admitted by mainstream scientists, but they can't figure out who did it. They can only tell you when. Oh, about 200,000 years ago. Well, what do the tablets say? 200,000 years ago is when they first genetically modified the existing hominid on this planet. And these tablets predate any Zecharia Sitchin's translations. Zecharia Sitchin, I want to clear this up real quick before I even proceed, never translated any Sumerian tablets. That's a hoax. He's one of the greatest researchers in the history of this planet because what he did was he took pre-existing translated information and he painted a picture for us based off of the translations that already existed, and he wrote books about it. He never translated the Sumerian tablets. The Sumerian tablets were translated, in some cases, 100 years before he was even born. This is back in the 1700s and 1800s that the Sumerian tablets, the ones that have the information about these beings coming here and so forth and genetic modifying people, the Atrahasis epic and the Enuma Elish were translated before he was even born. So he never translated. He just painted a picture. He tried to pull together information from the tablets, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Nag Hammadi scripts, the Emerald tablets, and he tried to paint a picture as to what he thought happened in the ancient past. Was he 1,000% accurate? Probably not. But who is? Nobody's going to be 100% accurate on anything that they put together. We're all researching. We're all searching for answers and information. But just to clear that up, because I got to get rid of that, debunk that big lie that floats around that we shouldn't listen to anything the Sumerian tablets have to say because they were only translated by Zecharia Sitchin. That's actually that's a lie. Okay, you can look this up for yourself. I've done full presentations about that topic. And the reason why I bring up the Sumerian tablets and what does it have to do with DNA? Well, if you look into the Tower of Babel incident that happened, it's recorded in the Bible, but the Bible copied it directly from where? The Sumerian tablets, which predate the Bible by 6,000 years. Ironically, if you look what the majority of religious people that believe in that book, they only think that the earth and people are only 6,000 years old. Why is that? Because the Sumerian tablets date back to 6,000 years. That's when the most recent recorded history in terms of a lot of information was available. So they're going off of information that was plagiarized into other religious texts. But Sumerians in this epic, there's a Tower of Babel being built in Babylon. And this tower is rivaling the tower that was built by these Anunnaki beings, these Atlantean people. Now, whether the tower was a replica, direct, like an identical copy, whether it was like a cargo cult where we kind of deified these people as gods and we're just trying to mimic and we used straw and clay brick to build a tower that mimicked what they built, it doesn't matter. The fact is, we came together as one, all of us, and we built something together. And our reason behind it was to either honor the gods or duplicate what they were doing. So this entity comes back to see this, and if you're looking in the Old Testament of the Bible, it's Yahweh, who's actually in the Sumerian tablets. His name is Enlil. Enlil was, ironically, if you look in the ancient scriptures, he was Satan, the Lord of Eden. But anyway, so he comes back and he sees the people building this tower into heaven. And he what? He destroys the tower. He blows it up. He's angry now. And he says whatever man decides to do, they can, to put their heart to, to set their heart to, they can achieve it or accomplish it. And so he blows up the tower. And then he does what next? He changes the language and he says, my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. Well, it says the same thing in the Bible. It says the same thing in the Sumerian text. What it says now is Harvard scientists in America just discovered that under the most pristine conditions, a human being can live for how many years? 120. This is with all the GMOs and the genetic seeds and the tortured meat and everything else and the pollution. Under the most pristine conditions, we should live to 120 years. Now what they said is, okay, well, why are we dying at 120 years and less? What's the reason? So that's when they came, but I told you about before, the chromosome number 2 and the telomere caps. They realized that these telomere caps, which are they store buffer material that allows, when your cells and DNA replicate, it allows information to not be lost in a transference because your body's consistently regenerating over and over again. But when the buffer material in these caps run out, that's when your body starts the death process. So we were capped. They put a cap on us. So what they did was they went into mice and they said, wow, let's look at these mice. Because if you look at some of the ancient texts, biblical or either Sumerian, emerald tablets, even some of the Indian books, you'll discover that people were living for thousands of years. Well, what happened? All of a sudden, they stopped living for... These are human beings, not gods, humans were living for thousands of years. Now, mainstream science wants to say, oh, it's because they had more oxygen and all this kind of crazy stuff. No, man. We've been genetically modified, just like the seeds on this planet. That's why. So they went and said, okay, let's look at some mice. So they took some mice at Harvard, and they accessed the telomere caps, and they put together a sequence that prevented them from shrinking or losing the buffer material. And all of a sudden, these mice lived three times their normal lifespan. 3 times their normal lifespan. So they're discovering that DNA can be reprogrammed, telomere caps can be reprogrammed. We were genetically modified to only live a specific amount of years on this planet. Why? Because if we're living long enough and we become smart enough and begin to work together and come back together as one, realizing that we're all one family, then we will overthrow this small amount of elites that are controlling and ruling us. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet, and there's only 13 families that control all of us. And so when we look at this, you have to say to yourself, 13 families, that's like 100 people or so, controlling 7.5 billion, what you see, eat, hear, smell, touch, feel, think. And what we have to do is we got to stop blaming those 13 families. We got to stop saying, these guys did this and they did that and they did this. You know what we got to do? We got to get out a big mirror, take a selfie of yourself. I'm to blame. I'm to blame. You know why? Our silence puts us in collusion. Our ignorance puts us in full collusion. We have allowed this to happen to us. We have allowed this to happen to us, and we still are allowing it consistently on a daily basis. How? Because we participate in the system. I went to the ATM machine today. I participated in the central banking system today. All of us are participating on a daily basis. I put gas inside of the rental car that I have today. I participated in the petroleum system that they have locked down on this planet. Every single moment of every single day, we participate in the system. I'm using this cell phone. This screen is made from forced child labor. But I'm not going to throw away my cell phone today, am I? Because of that. We're participating in a system that is designed to keep us completely enslaved. And it goes all the way back to these ancient times. So getting back to the DNA. So we know that DNA is a storage medium and it can store a massive amount of information. This is very, very important for you to understand. And like I said, on 1 gram of DNA, 433 petabytes of data. I don't know if you know what a petabyte is, but it's a massive amount of information. But let's take it to the next step now. Now they have discovered that epigenetic memories can be passed down 14 generations inside of DNA. Memories. So you're wondering why you feel fear of this and fear of that, or you have a phobia of this or a phobia of that, or you feel strongly about this and not so strongly about that. It's not because it runs in your family. It's because it's in your DNA. Memories are in your DNA. So what does this have to do with us? Well, we're looking at an entire race of people on this planet that have been literally enslaved. Every single race. Every single race on this planet has been enslaved. Now, and in more recent times, we've had one race try to enslave other races more than others. But, however, you have to understand this. We're all still slaves in the matrix. It's an illusion to the ones who think that they did the enslaving. Yes, they did it, but it's still an illusion. You know why? We've all been enslaved. Every single person on this planet is a slave right now at this moment. But we can break out of it, and that's what we're going to go over today. And one of the most important things, I think, what you have to understand when you're dealing with people that have been oppressed in like even more recent times, so I just said epigenetic memories go 14 generations. Well, think about that for a minute. If you look at, for example, African Americans, we've only gone out of slavery for a generation. So if you see somebody that's stressing, that's under pressure, that's feeling the negative effects of what happened in the past, you can't just wipe it away and say, it's over now, you should forget about it. Because what they're truly doing is they're suffering internally. It's an internal thing. And it's not going to go away immediately. It's going to take some time to do what? Reprogram. We have to reprogram the DNA. This goes for a lot of the people that have been enslaved on this planet over many generations. 14 generations is quite a bit of time, but at the same time, it's a short period of time. But we're just now coming out of different types of slavery on this planet, and it's not going to go away in the blink of an eye. So you have to understand that. So when you see people that they may be suffering from things that happened in the past, you have to realize that it's not. It may not be just a figment of their imagination. Now, how does this work with the law of attraction? Okay, first let's go back into programming a little bit before we get to the law of attraction. The reason why they call TV, obviously, programming is because when you turn the TV on, it really programs you. When you turn the radio on, it programs you. I mean, it's all programming. So what we have to do as a people on this planet is we have to literally take the system that the elites put over us to control us and keep us dumbed down and stupid and low vibrational, take that same exact system and flip it. Use the same methods, but for positive, for high frequency information. This is what we have to do to reprogram ourselves. And what are some of the ways to do that? Music is universal. Okay, because mathematics is universal. The whole universe is written based on mathematics, and music is also universal. That's why I started a record label called Pantheon Elite Records. I started a record label because I wanted to affect people in a positive way through music. Well, what do I do that's different? Well, we use conscious lyrics. Okay, well, big deal. No, the music is encoded at 432 hertz and 528 hertz because the music on your radio is encoded at what? 440 hertz. Very scientifically proven, extremely detrimental to DNA. Again, we go back to the DNA. Why do they do 440 hertz knowing that it's going to be detrimental to your DNA? Because they want to keep you in a weakened state. Because why? People that come together, people that understand who they are, people that understand how much power is inside of them, will not allow this to happen. We will take control of this planet, become loving beings again, love one another, help one another, and so forth and so on. So they have to keep us in a state of weakness and, of course, also sickness, because when your DNA is weak, you become what? You become sick, okay? So they go in at 440. So all my music, I put it at 432 hertz and 528 hertz. I encourage anybody here who is a musician. There's a lot of artists out here. There goes one back there. He understands. He knows. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Love it. That's the love frequency right there. We got to start putting our music out at 432 and 528 hertz, and guess what's going to happen? People are going to start copying us and following suit, and it's going to become like an epidemic in a positive way. So we got to start the process there. Programming on TV. That's why I get involved in positive shows and documentaries and movies that teach real information. Because why? I'm trying to get kids to start looking and people start looking at information that's going to help to reprogram their DNA. Another thing that you can do is positive affirmations. I have a song called Affirmations. If you look it up on any music platform, just look up Affirmations by Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. It's a song that will literally, when you play it, it's going to give you a whole song full of affirmations with a composed music done by myself and a violin by the name of Richard Wagner. It's going to program you. It's been scientifically proven by saying positive affirmations will literally reprogram your DNA. And guess what happens when you begin to do that? When you begin to think positively, when you begin to act positively, and then now you're reprogramming yourself, and now you have offspring. And guess what happens to them? They come out slightly reprogrammed. And you keep it going down the line. You keep teaching them the right way. And then when they have offspring, they become reprogrammed. So this is the method that's going to be needed to reprogram. It may not be just this instantaneous thing where everybody's just reprogramming and we're all awake and we're all in another dimension. I mean, it could happen because anything is possible. But what I'm trying to tell you is more than likely, we're probably going to have to go on a step-by-step realistic process to do this. And it's going to take effort and it's going to take hard work. It's not going to be easy. If you're driving down the highway and somebody cuts you off in traffic, don't flip them the finger and curse them out and say this and that and all this other kind of stuff, especially if you got your kids and stuff in the car. That's just a bad example. What you should do is you should bless that person. Bless their path. Bless the destination they're trying to get to. And thank the universe that you didn't crash or have a car accident. And just keep on moving in a positive mindset. And when you broadcast that type of love frequency, now you're reprogramming your DNA. Now, the people who are around you who have witnessed you do that, they're being reprogrammed because they're going, oh, this is the way that I should be. And now they're going to reprogram. It becomes very contagious. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And the only reason why we're in the state we are now as a civilization on the planet is because we're not utilizing enough unconditional love. And that's and we're all guilty, including myself. I'm even guilty of it. I try to get myself into a state of 0 point where Nothing truly affects my physiology. The only feelings I like to feel are happiness, and love. And if something comes, bad news, a situation in the family, anything that blindsides me in business, I try not to let it get me into a state of frenzy or a state of distress. I try to control my physiology and maintain the neutral point, because in the 0 point field is where you can actually focus on the problem. Because once you become completely distressed, worked up, angry, and frustrated, now your mind is putting more energy into that and not into focusing on the situation or the problem that you need to have to fix and solve the situation, which most likely means you probably need to be more understanding, be more patient, and learn a lesson from whatever happened. So we have to begin to take these. Now, this is not easy to do, trust me. If I make a post on forbidden knowledge on Instagram, and I think it's probably the greatest post in the world, and somebody will go in there and make some kind of crazy comment, it's hard for me not to go, oh, yeah. You know what? But you know what I've done now? I've tried something new, because this is the kind of work it really takes, guys. I'm serious. It takes hard work to change your DNA. Now what I'll do is I'll write the response that I was going to write, but I won't send it. I'll write it. I'll type it with all the energy. I'll be like, yeah, uh-huh, yeah, And then I'll just sit there and look at it, read it a couple times, and I'll put the phone down till the screen goes blank. Then I'll walk around, drink something or whatever, get on the computer. Then I'll come back, pick it up again, and just delete it. It only takes that little bit of time for the satisfaction of it to leave you, and then it's like, oh, wow, you know what? It would have been dumb to send that. First of all, the whole world's going to see it. You know, kids are following my account. They're going to see that, you know. So instead of clapping back now, what I do is I just type my message, and eventually my goal is to not even have to type the message at all. But you see, it's a work in progress. None of us are perfect. It's all a work in progress. And it's a struggle on a daily basis. This is what's really truly called in the ancient texts being born again. Being born again doesn't mean that you believing in a specific deity and that he's going to come and save you. Being born again means it's an elevation of consciousness. You've gone from the primordial level of consciousness, the physical meat mode level, to a 5D ascension level of consciousness. Your body is still in the third dimension, but you're thinking from a much higher dimension, a much higher level. So things that would send another person on a wild goose chase, they don't send you on wild goose chases anymore, because you're reprogramming yourself a little bit every single day. And this is the process that we've got to go through. And I think that it's very doable. I really do believe that this can be truthfully accomplished with effort within just 2 generations. And in 2 generations from now, we can have a whole different race of people on this planet, the same race, but a whole different mindset of people on this planet, that are born and into a higher level of consciousness, moving things forward. And when you have people in positions of power that are raised up and now getting positions of power in economic systems, and in systems, in governmental systems, all of a sudden you've got allies. We have allies in places that somebody can press a button and make a change. You know, so these are some of the things we have to realize. It's not going to be a big war against the elites, and it's not going to be, where we're picketing 10 million people walking up and down the street and all this kind of crazy stuff and getting on TV. It's going to be that we're all going to come to realize that we're all one. They're all one big family. We need to come together and do one thing: stop participating. And when we do that, the game is over. When we literally say, Monday morning, we're not going to go to work. Imagine if 30 million people didn't go to work Monday. Imagine if 30 million people didn't buy gas on Monday. Imagine if 30 million people went to the bank on Monday and said, I want to withdraw all my money. They can't even give it to all 30 million because only 15% of the cash is available on hand at any given time. The rest is fake zeros and ones. That would collapse the banking system in one day. You see the power in that? You have the power, but we all have the power. But what's keeping us back from doing this? Fear. Oh my God, if I don't go to work, I'm going to get fired. And if they don't participate in it, and I'm the only one that doesn't show up for work, I'm going to lose out, and I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm not going to be able to make my car payment, and so forth and so on. You see the trap they have us in? They have us in this system where we're afraid to work together. We're afraid to be like, man, we're brothers. We should be, link up. Let's do this together. That's right. So that's where we got to get to, guys. We got to get to the point where we're literally all on the same accord, and that's going to happen. We've got to get to that point. Yeah. So Now, the next thing I want to talk about is how does this work with the law of attraction? What does DNA have to do with the law of attraction? It has a lot to do with the law of attraction, actually, because the law of attraction is actually initiated through the DNA. And how many people here have ever heard somebody say, "I get a download"? People say, "I get a download." Don't laugh at those people, because they're really getting a download. And I've seen people laugh before and chuckle when people walk away. Let me tell you something. You don't understand quantum. If you think it's funny, you don't understand quantum mechanics. Because just like I told you about DNA being able to be a hard drive, which, by the way, now Microsoft has created the first DNA hard drive that really works. So things like teleportation of biological entities and all that stuff is all becoming a reality because the only thing stopping us was storage space. But anyway, scientists have also found out now that DNA sends and receives wireless signals, wireless information. We have a built-in Wi-Fi system in our bodies already. So, and it's this broadcasted between 8 to 10 feet away from the human body. So all times of day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're all downloading information directly from the ether of space-time itself. And what's in the ether of space-time? Remember, a human being can only see in a very small spectrum of light. So what we're seeing right now is literally just part of the hologram. Just part of the hologram. Everything else, there's trillions and trillions of electromagnetic waves passing in you, through you, and out of you at this existing very moment, right now as I'm speaking. That's all everything is electromagnetic waves. That's all that really exists. Besides that and consciousness, those two things collapse together and create what we call matter. So right now, we can't see these other waves of light, but they're there. But what's happening is if the DNA in your body is oscillating at a specific frequency that matches a frequency of an electromagnetic wave that's already out there, you can download information from that wave. What do waves carry? They carry information. Electromagnetic waves carry information. What I'm giving you guys is real peer-reviewed science. Write it down and go look it up and research it. All the information contained in the entire universe is passing in us all around us at all times. There is no original idea. If you're just sitting around and going, "Man, I have a great idea. I'm going to invent so-and-so." Not really. What happened was you got on the right frequency and you downloaded the information directly from the universe. There's a professor called James S. Gates Jr. He's a former professor at the University of Maryland. He's at a much smaller college now. He was also the scientific advisor to President Obama in that era. But he's a specialist in supersymmetry and theoretical physics. And this guy is one of the leaders in this in the world. He's not just some guy who plays around with this. He's the leader. He gets together this super team of quantum physicists, and they start digging into the ether of space-time to figure out what is floating in us and around us. What is this space-time? What is space? And he discovers that it operates on something called Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes can be traced back to the Dogon tribe in Mali, Africa, who actually were the original Egyptians from the land of Chem. They later migrated out to Mali. But they have these codes. These codes represent, they're flat codes on cloth, but when you take them into a third dimension, they represent sophisticated numerical mathematics that depict something called error-correcting codes in our modern science. And these error-correcting codes are what run search engine browsers and websites. So what is governing the function of our space-time reality in the third dimension is a software program that runs websites and search engines. This is peer-reviewed science, guys. So this is how powerful you are. So what's happening is you're syncing up with information that's already on the net, and it's downloading into your body, and you're processing that. And this is how powerful the human body is. This is why we get a lot of visitations from different entities. I truly do believe that, like, for example, the gray aliens, which are probably most likely cybernetic organisms that have long outlived their creators, in my personal opinion, from my research, are doing these hybridization programs with people because they're looking to get a way to tap into having an afterlife through the DNA of a human being. I think that multidimensional DNA that we have, I think is very special, and that's why we probably get a lot of visitations. But anyway, but that's the Wi-Fi part of it. So with the law of attraction, what happens is the law of attraction is not just something. A lot of people hear you, law of attraction, I'm going to use the law of attraction, but they really don't know how to utilize it the proper way. And it's a real powerful tool to use in your life. And if you really, truly understand the law of attraction, you're going to make your life so much easier. It goes along, though, with the reprogramming process. You have to begin to start the reprogram. If you want it to work consistently, you can make it work by accident here or there, spot it. But if you want it to work consistently, you got to continue to reprogram your DNA, and then you have to understand one other thing, quantum entanglement. Now, normally I do a very sophisticated presentation with graphics behind me to let people visually see this. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you without the graphics. I know some people are visual learners. But in quantum entanglement, which is something in real physics, it's where you use something called parabolic down conversion to get two photons or two particles on the same frequency. So once you get two particles on the same frequency, you could take one particle to the other end of the universe if you had the capability of getting it there. And the particle that's local to you, you can change the information in it, put data on it, and the other particle will change instantaneously, bypassing the speed of light. What does this prove? The thing that I said in the beginning. Distance is an illusion. There is no distance. Separation is an illusion. Matter of fact, there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. If I were to take all of the empty space out of your atoms, I can fit all 7.5 billion people into a sugar cube. It's just an illusion, guys. It's a hologram. It's all consciousness and waves out there. It's really all that exists. But back to the law of attraction. So what happens in the law of attraction is once you understand how quantum entanglement works, and scientists now have discovered that the brain, the neurons in the brain, phase in and out of the third dimensional reality. Look it up. I always give you real science that you can research for yourself. So your neurons, between your synapses, are actually phasing in and out of the third dimension. Where are they going? They're communicating with other realms and other dimensions, syncing and quantum entangling with particles and thoughts in other places. So when you understand this, now you go, oh, wow. When you look into the ancient tablets, especially in the Emerald Tablets, which is why I wrote my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, the biggest part of my book is where Thoth is talking about the power of manifestation through meditation and thought. And he's literally talking about how to sync with the universal consciousness through something else, which I've labeled the Christ consciousness. So the Christ consciousness doesn't mean you're syncing up with Jesus Christ. What it means is you're syncing up with the idea, the concept of this higher level of consciousness that exists out there in space-time. So when you yourself are aligning yourself properly with the universe, vibrating on a high frequency, and what does that mean, vibrating on a high frequency? That means you're thinking with love, not thinking with hate. You're thinking with power and love, and not fear and weakness. And when you do that, that puts your DNA scientifically at a high frequency. This has been done in laboratories. They've taken DNA, they've analyzed a person's thought patterns through caps that they put on with electrodes, and they've got them looking at photos that show people getting murdered, then a photo of a field of flowers, then a photo of somebody hugging a child, and then a photo of somebody getting beat up. And they analyze those thought patterns in a laboratory, and this is how they learn this. So at specific times when you're feeling the mode of fear, the DNA, there's a frequency that oscillates over your DNA. It covers a very wide band, and it covers less of your DNA. In a high frequency love mode, the frequency oscillates much faster, and they're hence much closer together, and more of the frequency is touching your DNA strand, which means you're operating at a high frequency. This is real science. It's not like, oh man, these people just got up here and talking about this aliens and frequencies and all this stuff. They don't know what they're talking about. No, I'm talking about real, peer-reviewed quantum physics and quantum mechanics. It's important for you to know, because when you tell people about this stuff, they're like, you're a weirdo. But when you can back it up with science, they got to sit down and listen. And if they don't sit down and listen, they really don't want to hear it at all. But some people will not listen to you and then go look it up and go, damn, they were right. I'm serious. So now, okay, you're saying, I want to manifest this I want to manifest a spouse into my life, for example. Let's just go with that. I'm using my own personal example. Okay? I want to manifest a spouse into my life that's operating in the same frequency that I'm operating, that's moving in the same way that I'm moving, because I tried it before where one person's going this way and another person's going that way. It didn't work out. I did it twice. I'm going, man, I'm beating myself up. What am I doing here? Not that person was all wrong or that I was all wrong, but it just wasn't a perfect match on the frequency level. And I want somebody that's going to be able to not be perfect, because that's highly impossible, but somebody that at least just has understanding for the work that I do and the time that I put out and the people I have to meet and so forth and so on. So I start focusing on this in meditations. I start focusing on envisioning not a face, not a body, just a spirit light being that is in full agreement and movement in what I'm looking to do and accomplish on this planet. Okay? So now because I'm doing that and I'm feeling this love frequency, this vibration and happiness in the meditation, I'm now operating at a higher level. Now I'm syncing up with the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is going to carry that photonic or that particle energy to sync up with the universal consciousness on a quantum entanglement. And now I'm quantum entangled directly with the flower of life, which is the face of God. And now what happens is, just like in standard physics, when you have a globe in space and you see space warps around the globe because of the theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity, normally I would show you on the stage. Now replace the globe, Earth, with your consciousness, with your mind. Your mind is literally, now that it's quantum entangled, it's warping space-time. It's warping the ether of space itself. And now things that you're looking for are falling. Because what happens to a body in space that warps space? Things fall toward it. Now the things that you want in life are starting to fall towards you. You're creating your own quantum entanglement. You're creating the law of attraction. Now you have things falling directly towards you. And this is how the law of attraction works. You literally create a gravity well, so to speak, that things happen to fall towards you. And as you begin to operate in this mode, it then begins to happen subconsciously, where you're not even having to directly focus. As the universe knows what you need, if you're operating in the right frequency, those things will just occur in your life and pop up for you. I'm thinking 2 months ago, I really want to, start writing this Anunnaki movie, and I just kept putting it aside. All of a sudden, Dame Dash calls me up or sends me a direct message on Instagram and says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about doing a movie." I wasn't like, man, I got to focus on getting this movie. I got to pull it into my life. No, I'm already operating on the right frequency. Things like that just pop up and manifest. Then what happens? Other things pop up and manifest that you didn't even realize that you wanted to have, but now, hey, you want to do a show on my network? Yeah, I'll do a show on your network. I mean, it happens all the time. Even in business, you'll see things start to pop up and start to manifest as long as you're operating in the right frequency. And I think that some people have been able to overcome that even though they have a cold heart and dark mindset. But overall, what's happening to those people is, in my opinion, their energy is going to be recycled. When their avatar body expires, their energy is going to be recycled back into another one, and a blind recycling, a blind reincarnation, and they'll be forced to experience this thing all over again from scratch without knowing who they are, where they came from, or anything else, and try to learn the lessons all over again. I want to be like Thoth the Atlantean, like I talk about in my book. He discovered a way through seeking the light, obtaining a high level of consciousness, understanding the power of law of attraction and manifestation, and then utilizing that to manifest himself or incarnate at will, where and when he wants to, anytime, any planet, anywhere, in any body. He has, according to the Emerald Tablets, he had avatar bodies in the halls of Amenti underneath the Great Pyramid. Well, they found those rooms, hundreds of them underneath the Great Pyramid, hundreds of them out under the Giza Plateau out there. So they really, truly do exist. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. We have the capability to reprogram ourselves. DNA is a storage medium. It's extremely, extremely powerful. And because we have the capability to reprogram ourselves, we can change the future generations on this planet. We can help heal people. There's a lot of people on this planet that need healing. And not enough of us are willing to extend that healing mindset to them. If you run across a person that's having a bad day, don't let that affect you if they snap at you, One of the companies that I run with my wife in Ohio is a company that we treat people with, we service people with disabilities, developmental disabilities. So some of these people have cerebral palsy. They have arthritis where they can't use their hands and their legs, different types of autism. And we have to have meetings with our caregivers to let them know, look, guys, these people from time to time will snap at you. At the end of the day, you're getting up and getting in a car and driving home. They're going to go to a bedroom in a bed. You have to understand that. You have to extend empathy to everyone. And I think the next biggest part is that we have to extend empathy to animals as well. This is where we're getting to. I just truly don't believe that we can ascend to the highest possible level that we're capable of until we can extend empathy to the smallest creatures. I'm talking about even ants. Now, does that mean you will never step on an ant? Of course. You may be walking down the street and step on an ant. Don't think I'm crazy. What I'm trying to tell you is this. Extend empathy to the smallest of creatures, and that will extend beyond animals into your brother and sister. That will extend because once you achieve that level of consciousness, it will extend out to the highest level of sentient being on the planet, which is right now, according to modern science, human beings. But it still may be. I was talking with a brother earlier. It may be dolphins and whales. But still, keep in mind, if we do that, if we're able to do that, I'm just telling you how so important it is. We can be blessing one another and telling each other how great we are and everything else, and then go to a Sea World and go watch a tortured animal be tortured for 2 hours and pay for that and laugh and smile and think it's great and go home and think we had a great day with our kid at the park. Not thinking that this animal that we just got done watching being tortured in forced labor has a much more powerful brain than us, can feel emotions stronger than us, has much more neural capacity than us, and a highly more advanced language than us as well. And we just tortured this animal for 2-3 hours for our own enjoyment. Meanwhile, we're running around saying we're highly conscious spiritual beings. They both don't go hand in hand. And we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it as well. It's just something that we've got to work to. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. You know, I'm standing up here with shoes on that might be made from leather. Think about that. These shoes, I don't know if they are or not. I just bought them from a discount store. I was happy to grab them. They were a good sale. But you see the mindset? But again, how was this animal potentially tortured so that I can walk around in these shoes? Just little things like that, just to think about. Not to beat yourself up too hard about it, but to say, you know what? Let's just start analyzing things little by little again and trying to rethink how we consider ourselves on this planet and how we can take ourselves to the next level. The last thing I want to touch on is prayer. One of the other problems we have on this planet is the fact that prayer doesn't seem to work. I said it. Doesn't seem to work. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet, and out of that 7.5 billion people, 85% of this planet, they're religious people. And some people are saying multiple prayers a day. And it's not really working that well. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying prayer doesn't work. I'm saying it's not working because we're not utilizing it the right way. Let's talk about how prayer should work. Remember when I was talking about quantum entanglement, law of attraction, the power of the mind, consciousness? Well, you see, the universe operates on a very high frequency. It doesn't operate on a low frequency. So if you're standing up in a position of power and you're commanding things into existence, you're at a high frequency because the universe only will sync with you on high frequency knowledge and consciousness. If you're down and begging, oh, please, I don't know why this is happening. Oh, help me, I can't get out of this situation. Oh, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. This one's sick, that one's sick. Help. Well, if I collect electrodes to your brain, according to the science that I told you about before, you're at a low frequency. Guess what? You're not going to quantum entangle. You're not going to sync with the universal consciousness in a low frequency mindset. That's begging a sky wizard to come and rescue you, not realizing that the divine energy that created this entire universe is flowing in you, through you, and out of you at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The power of creation, thank you, is inside of you. The power of healing is inside of you. The power of the power for you to have the ability to see through a situation and correct it or find a way to fix it or deal with it in the right manner is already inside of you. The power of manifestation is already inside of you. So what are we doing with all this begging and low frequency vibration activity? It's not getting us anywhere. It's not doing anything for anybody. You know, and then what happens is 1 out of 1,000 people will miraculously recover in a hospital and we go, oh, God made it happen. But then if the person dies, we blame the doctor. It's his fault. You know, listen, guys, you have to understand. I'm not saying that you're going to live forever and you're not going to never have any diseases or anything else. But it's been scientifically proven that the human body, the mind, has the capability of helping your body heal faster and better than any medicine ever put out on the market. Any medicine. This is why they have something called placebos. They do double-blind studies. They give somebody a placebo for this disease, and they give somebody the real treatment. The other person who gets the real treatment, some of them recover, some of them don't. The people who get the placebo, some of them recover, some of them don't. Why is that? The power of the mind. The power literally of the mind. It's just that powerful. So just remember, guys, when you're going into praying, pray from a position of power. And what do I mean by that? Well, for example, if I'm going on a trip, like my trip here, I literally close my eyes and I envision my flight route, my car drive to the airport, then my flight route to the airport, my drive from the airport to the hotel. and I envision it in my mind, and then I say, I bless my path. I will arrive at my destination safely. I do this. When I go to eat food, first of all, I don't bless food that I know is toxic for me. That's another thing that I just can't understand. You see people with a plate full of diabetic food that's going to give them diabetes instantly as soon as they swallow it, and then they try to pray over it. Sorry, guys, didn't work. You die, you're going to get diabetes anyway. So listen, if I have a plate of healthy food, I bless the food. If I have food that I'm going to cheat and I'm going to have a snack, I'm not going to bless that food. I already know it's toxic for my body. I'm not going to try to trick my brain into thinking that I'm putting in something that's going to, this Klondike bar is going to miraculously cure my cancer or something. God, we have to be real with ourselves. We have to start thinking in different ways. Because a lot of the times, we trick and fool our own selves. That's the truth. That's what we do to us. We fool ourselves into believing this is good and this is good. And this. Bless your food. Bless your path. Bless people. Think good about people. Love one another. Respect one another. Treat people the way you expect to be treated. I'm going down to 42 laws of Matt right now from the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And guess what? Everything will work out. We'll come together. There'll be peace on this planet. We'll ascend to a high level of consciousness, another dimension. We'll make heaven on earth. Our future generations for many years to come will be very happy and ecstatic that we did this. We're the pioneers of the bringers of light. And I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate you. My name is Billy Carson.
That wasn't loud enough. Billy Carson. I can't follow that. Billy Carson, one more time. Was that amazing? Everybody say hi to Vance right here. 88 years old. Rock and roll. All right, we're going to take a quick break. The DVDs are over here with Dennis with Billy's presentation. They're $10. They're right there. Coming up next, are you guys ready? Laura Eisenhower is on this stage. What an incredible day, DisclosureFest 2019. Are you guys having a good time? A crazy UFO was just seen about 40 minutes ago. I've never seen 10,000 people looking at the sky, but it was right back there. They know we're here. This is DisclosureFest 2019. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be back in a few minutes with Laura Eisenhower. All right? You guys having a good time? All right. I'll be right back.